watching this special edition of Northwest Newsweek, where we're showcasing the top stories that affected the region in 2012. The year began on a somber note as a January plane crash in North Spirit Lake claimed the lives of all but one of the 5 on board. The plane went down on the frozen lake about a kilometer from the reserve's airfield while attempting to land during a severe winter storm. Jordan Milani has the details.
The Keystone Air Service plane flying in from Winnipeg was carrying 5 people. Residents in the area attempted to douse the burning plane with snow and water from the lake, but were unable to save 4 of the people trapped inside. Transportation Safety Board Regional Manager Peter Hildebrand explains.
I understand that the aircraft crashed on the lake, and the lake is located not far from the runway at North Spirit Lake. There was a post-crash fire that occurred after the accident. We can now confirm that there were 4 fatalities. There was 1 survivor who was airlifted by medevac from the site.
North Spirit Lake is a remote Anishinaabe-Aski reserve located about 175 kilometers north of Red Lake. One of the victims was a band worker from the reserve. Nan Grand Chief Stan Beardy says the residents are in shock, and accidents such as this one hit very close to home for many First Nations.
Well, indeed, it's a very sad day, not only for North Spirit, but for all of Anishinaabe-Aski, because about 30 of my communities depend on air travel only. So we have flights in and out of my communities in hundreds in a year's time. So when something happens, it hits very close to home.
The other 3 victims, including the pilot, were from the Winnipeg area. The lone survivor, Brian Sheed, narrowly escaped by crawling out of the burning wreckage. He is said to be in stable condition in a Winnipeg hospital.
He's doing well and recovering every day. And on behalf of the family, we are very grateful that he is alive.
Due to a lack of communication equipment aboard the plane and at the airport in the community, it is still unknown what caused the crash. Jordan Milani, TBT News.
The confusing situation in Ignace finally came to an end in early March. A month-long debate sparked when Mayor Lee Kennard resigned from his seat in a written letter, then within days attempted to withdraw that resignation. The result was a lengthy discussion in a well-attended council meeting over the town's next move. Once again, here's Jordan Milani.
Call this meeting to order.
About 70 people attended the special meeting of council in hopes that a clear and fair decision would be made for the vacant mayor's seat. Lee Kennard was elected to that seat in 2010 with 84% of the vote. But before any ruling was made, councillors were given the chance to voice their opinions on whether Kennard should be reappointed.
Lee has done a lot for this town, in my opinion, and he's the best mayor we've had since when we had Andy Tardy. And he's, if he gets back on, he's going to get a lot done for the town in the next 3 years. I know he is.
I have lost all confidence in him. Quitting is not how you solve a problem. Is that the message Ignace wants to send? When the going gets tough, quit. That will get you far, especially in trying economic times. The residents of Ignace deserve representation that will tough it out, not turn tail and run.
I felt he brought balance to this council. He has built bridges with the First Nations people. He's shown me an insight into their culture that I have thoroughly enjoyed, and given me a better understanding, because we all know what that future holds.
Deputy Mayor Larry Fraser mentioned that Kennard should have taken a leave of absence as an alternative to quitting. When all was said and done, council voted 3-1 to reappoint Kennard as mayor. Afterwards, Kennard was thankful for the public's continued endorsement.
It made me feel really good to be elected back again. It was quite a mistake I made there, and just to get everybody's forgiveness and appreciation for me, it was really good.
Jordan Milani, TBT News.
The announcement in early May by Cliffs Natural Resources of a $3 billion investment was met with little fanfare here in the Northwest. The rather uncomfortable news conference was packed with long faces as the company revealed it would build its $1.8 billion chromite processing facility near Sudbury, while also investing another $1.5 billion throughout Northern Ontario to develop their Ring of Fire mining deposit. Dennis Ward has the regional leaders' reactions.
The
frustration with this announcement was most felt when the Minister of Aboriginal Affairs was called out during the news conference by First Nations leaders. They say so far this proposed project has no commitment to jobs or infrastructure for the communities most impacted.
As far as I'm concerned, my advice to the chiefs of the area would be to perhaps reevaluate the support of the project. You know, sure, you can have a smelter in Sudbury, but you still have to have the mine up there.
If you listen to their announcement, if you listen to Joe Gabry at his luncheon last week, there's no real commitment. All they're saying is First Nation participation. They're not talking about the numbers, what that number means. It could be 10 jobs for our communities. So, I mean, when they sit down and put the real commitment and the real dollar or the real number to who's sitting there and how many First Nation are directly employed.
Greenstone councillor Jay Dater, whose reaction was less than euphoric, calls this a disappointment for the entire region.
It's not just about this one development for Cliffs, it's about all the future and successful opportunities that come beforehand. Until the province demonstrates that it's willing to invest in infrastructure and really partner with municipalities in the region, we can continue to see these job opportunities and economic opportunities go south.
Municipal and First Nations leaders are now indicating they will band together and present a united front in order to reach goals they've been trying to achieve for years.
My gut feelings are that we're going to stand beside First Nations and support them, support Greenstone, support the Northwest, whatever it takes to develop this area, get the proper power supplies and infrastructure up in the north so that all of Northwestern Ontario and Northern Ontario can benefit.
Dennis Ward, TBT News.
The first wind farm project to be constructed entirely on Crown land had its official opening in June. The ribbon cutting at the Greenwich Wind Farm marked not only a historical day for the province, but the township of Dorian as well. Jordan Milani was there and files this report.
A total of 43 wind turbines were constructed and installed for the $275 million project by Enbridge, which will provide sustainable energy as well as a dozen jobs for the next 20 years. The turbines will produce 100 megawatts of renewable wind energy, which will be distributed throughout the province and offset over 100,000 tons of carbon dioxide. Minister of Natural Resources Michael Gravel attended the official unveiling and says projects like these are what will shape the future of energy in Ontario.
This is the first wind farm project completely on Crown land, so it's an important one for our ministry as well. Obviously, this produces clean, renewable energy, and we're excited about that. The energy from this wind farm will basically power 34,000 homes, and that's another great step in terms of the clean, renewable agenda that our government has, so that's good news.
The project created around 200 jobs during the construction phase, which included the development of 52 kilometers of roads throughout the site. There was initially the possibility of a phase 2 here with more turbines going up, but those plans are on hold according to Dorian Reeve Dave Harris. He says there is more work to be done to maximize the potential of projects like this throughout the Northwest.
We still have this whole Northwestern Ontario, as we all know, has a problem with transmission line. Can't get power out of this area anymore. Like the lines are maxed out. I like to believe the provincial government is working on the solution in the near future, because there is a lot of other potential projects like this in Northwestern Ontario, which would help a lot of the economy.
Community investments by Enbridge were later announced at a community barbecue. A yearly contribution to the community of $35,000 and also a one-time $10,000 donation for equipment to the Dorian Volunteer Fire Department. Jordan Milani, TBT News.
An announcement in July means big changes for Atikokan's power generating station. Stay with us. That's next. An announcement in mid-July revealed Atikokan's coal-powered generating station would finally be converted to biomass after nearly a decade of discussion. Thunder Bay Atikokan MPP Bill Morrow revealed the final piece of the puzzle, a power purchase agreement between Ontario Power Generation and the Ontario Power Authority. The project will provide much-needed infrastructure dollars to Atikokan. Matt Scooby has more.
Atikokan Mayor Dennis Brown says residents of his community have been waiting years for this day.
This now provides certainty in the project at the OPG plant, which is we know is very important to the town of Atikokan. It's important for the the power grid here, the generation of power here in Northwestern Ontario.
The conversion of the plant to biomass will begin immediately and is part of the McGuinty government's plan to eliminate coal-fired generation by the end of 2014. The estimated cost to complete the conversion is $200 million and immediately creates 200 construction jobs. MPP Bill Morrow explains that it also opens up other opportunities for jobs in the region.
Beyond the jobs that exist in the plant today that are being secured by this announcement, we're going to create a new industry in Northwestern Ontario, the biomass industry, to fuel and supply the fuel for that plant. So we know there will be a significant jobs, or rather a significant number of woodlands related jobs to provide the biomass to fuel and fire the plant.
Chris Freilich is a plant manager with Ontario Power Generation. He says the project should be complete by early 2014 and adds the impact will reach beyond the borders of Northwestern Ontario.
From a biomass plant producing electricity, it'll literally put Atikokan on that map internationally. This is one of the largest conversions of that scale, certainly in North America. So it'll be a tremendous opportunity for us to demonstrate how to do a conversion of this magnitude.
Beyond the immediate benefits, Brown also explains why it was crucial to the community for the plant to remain open.
It's huge for the tax base of Atikokan. About a third of the taxes we collect in Atikokan come from the OPG plant. So it's in the millions of dollars. And you know what it'd be like if that plant was to ever close down, we'd be out at least $2 million. And that's crucial to our community and to do the things we need.
Matt Scooby, TBT News.
They are two very powerful words that can take a lot of courage to say. And in late July, after nearly 100 years, the province of Ontario said that they're sorry to the Wabigoon Lake Ojibwe Nation. The Ontario Minister of Aboriginal Affairs, Kathleen Wynne, paid a visit to the community to both formally apologize on behalf of the province and to join in the celebrations of the flood claim settlement. Jordan Milani reports.
The historical day brought a close to a painful chapter in the Reserve's history, but it also turned the page to allow for some celebration. The community's flood claim was launched in 2004 and came to a final close earlier this year. A $27 million settlement was reached with the province to provide monetary support for a more sustainable and prosperous future. A provincially approved dam constructed in 1897 caused heavy flooding to 20% of reserve lands in 1912, changing the community's way of life in a matter of days. Aboriginal Affairs Minister Kathleen Wynne joined in on the celebration and acknowledged the lasting effects of the province's neglect.
Ontario acknowledges your community suffered economic damages and social dislocation as a result of the provincially approved dam in 1897. We acknowledge the flooding impacted farming, timber, fisheries, hunting and trapping resources, and caused significant damage to houses, graveyards, wild rice, and hay crops in your community.
Wynne delivered a framed copy of the formal letter of apology to Chief Reuben Canton Sr. He says it's unfortunate that they are the beneficiaries of such suffering, but now the community can finally rebuild and properly map its future.
I accept our apology. We accept our apology. At least we have some monetary support for our future.
Chief and Council were directed by the membership to direct the funds toward a trust fund for the community, with the accumulated interest to be dedicated to post-secondary education and job training for the local youth. Submissions from the residents will go through the Chief and Council as to how the money will be spent. Canton says the community will focus on their young and ensuring future generations will be taken care of.
I think if it's invested properly in the youth and generate extra money at the same time, I think it can go a long ways. And since we're a small community, I think 27 will play a big role in our future.
Jordan Milani, TBT News.
The community of Terrace Bay feels the economic roller coaster it has been riding on has finally stopped. The local pulp and paper mill saw several ups and downs, including a handful of owners in the last decade. But a downtown celebration was held in August, welcoming the newest company to take over the town's largest employer, the Birla Group. As Dennis Ward reports, this time around, people are feeling stability has finally come to the operation.
200 people gathered in the downtown for the welcoming of the Birla Group. Last month, when the announcement was made that a $40 billion multinational corporation had purchased the idled mill, residents and the business community let go a sigh of relief.
Almost all of the former employees have been called back to work, and
The mood in the community is done a complete 180. As you can see here today, there's a lot of happy faces.
The business community the last 5 years in Scriber, Terrace Bay, Rossport, Jackfish, our whole catchment area has gone through some big challenges. They've all survived, didn't thrive. So hopefully this is going to be a real turning point, and hopefully our businesses are going to thrive now.
BJ Cole of the Birla Group called the welcoming a great event. The company has committed to spend $250 million to get the mill back up and running and convert it to a dissolving grade pulp mill. Already the mill is a busy place.
Yeah, there are various contractors and there are various employees of the company who have joined in by now, and they are about 120 at present, and progressively the numbers will increase, and towards first week of October we'll start the operations.
This Terrace Bay mill is seen as an anchor operation for the whole region. Natural Resources Minister Michael Gravel has been around for numerous owner groups, but says this one feels different.
This is a company that when they make a decision to acquire a plant, they make a decision to stay, and they make a decision for long-term sustainability. And this conversion of the plant to dissolving pulp cannot be overstated how important that is in terms of the long-term future.
As many as 600 direct jobs are anticipated when up and running, and many spin-off jobs. Dennis Ward, TBT News.
A countrywide manhunt came to an end in Greenstone in October. Full story is coming up next.
Were issued after a 16-year-old boy escaped a Nova Scotia home with chains wrapped around his wrists and ankles. He told police he'd been held captive and was sexually assaulted for 10.
Shocking week in October found Greenstone making national headlines as a countrywide manhunt came to an unusual end in the municipality. 31-year-old Wayne Cunningham and 47-year-old David James LeBlanc had been on the run from police for several weeks before the high-profile case came to a close just outside of Long Lac. Tara Lair has the story.
Arrest warrants were issued after a 16-year-old boy escaped a Nova Scotia home with chains wrapped around his wrists and ankles. He told police he'd been held captive and was sexually assaulted for 10 to 14 days. One of the suspects, David James LeBlanc, was spotted on a dirt road near Long Lac last weekend and was taken into custody. Staff Sergeant Carl Pettigrew is the detachment commander of the Greenstone OPP. He says officers responded to a call of a man in distress with no socks or shoes on.
6 p.m. last evening on La Quinto Lake Road, there was a call of a male who appeared to be in distress or disheveled. It was actually first responded to by Constable Charles of Anishinaabeg Police Service and followed up by Constable Cameron of our office. Constable Cameron recognized the male subject to be David James LeBlanc, knew that he was wanted for a series of sexual assault, forcible confinement type charges from Nova Scotia.
On Wednesday, OPP officers found the suspect's car, a 2003 Hyundai Elantra, on a dirt road near where LeBlanc was found. Then on Wednesday night, just before midnight, police found the body of Wayne Cunningham, about 250 meters from the Elantra. RCMP Sergeant Alain Leblanc says Greenstone OPP came across the body while performing a ground search in the area.
We believe that is in fact that of 31-year-old Mr. Wayne Cunningham. The investigation into his death, the cause of death, is of course is followed up by the OPP Forensics Unit as well as the Coroner's Office. Again, it's very important for us to say also that the foul play is not suspected.
Tara Allaire, TBT News.
The community of Fort Frances was hit with difficult news in November as Resolute Forest Products announced more than 200 layoffs of the local pulp and paper operation. The company made the move to idle its kraft mill and paper machine at number 5. Jordan Milani has the details.
It's a very sad day for Fort Frances.
A total of 239 workers at the mill received the crushing news this week. A rather large portion of the facility was soon to be idled, and in just 12 weeks, they would be laid off. Fort Frances Mayor Roy Avis says the news was hard to digest, and he feels sorry for the many families, old and young, that will be affected. Avis says regional mayors have been reaching out to offer advice.
Mayor Canfield from Kenora, give me a call. Mayor Vinette from Red Lake, give me a call. And I know those communities have all gone through similar situations over the years. So it was good and reassuring, when you can hear from them.
CEP National Representative Stephen Boone says the loss of a key partnership with Boise, a sister mill located across the Rainy River, was a main factor prompting the indefinite closure. Kenora Rainy River MPP Sarah Campbell says the disheartening news couldn't come at a worse time, being so close to the holidays. But after meeting with the company personally, she's optimistic about the future of the facility.
The company was very clear that they are taking steps to protect the mill. They're trying to protect the assets. They're making sure that they are installing a tube filled with nitrogen in the recovery boiler that will make sure that they will be able to start up again in the future. They're also looking at some alternate product development to meet to the changing needs of some of the changing needs of the market.
Jordan Milani, TBT News.
Public elementary teachers throughout the province took to the picket lines in December, standing up against the McGuinty government's Bill 115. Rotating one-day strikes began across the province during that month, and the first walkout was held in Dryden with teachers from across the Q8 and Patricia School Board. With our final story, here's Jordan Milani.
More than 400 teachers strong lined up along Highway 17 in front of the Dryden Service Ontario office on Tuesday, fighting for what they say are their democratic rights. All 17 public elementary schools in the Dryden-Kenora area were affected, but rather than picket at the schools, the teachers chose to gather at this government office instead. Ann Saltel, president of the local Elementary Teachers Federation, says the government is stealing their rights to collective bargaining and putting thousands of students' educations in jeopardy.
There is no collective bargaining. We have acts, we have the Labor Relations Act that allows us to bargain with our employer. The government is not allowing us to do that. And we have decided we need to save democracy for the future of our children and our students.
The big problem is Bill 115 is preventing us from getting everything on the table and from getting local deals. It's a cookie-cutter legislation that really doesn't address all the multifaceted issues that we have in each local right across this province. That's the problem. Get rid of the bill. We'd have agreements in no time.
Kill that bill! Kill that bill!
A large group of students from Dryden High School joined the teachers in their protests, as many have lost extracurricular activities such as sports and other clubs. Jordan Milani, TBT News.
Well, those were the top stories that affected the region in 2012. Thank you for watching our recap. We'll see you again next week.